Try it, Jehoon urged, sliding a delicate plate of food across the table. Aaliyah blinked down at the artfully arranged dish. This can't be dinner. It looks like a painting. He smirked. It's Michelin-starred. You deserve more than convenience store ramen. She laughed softly, then hesitated. I don't belong in places like this. Jehoon leaned forward, his voice steady. You belong anywhere you choose. Stop letting small minds decide how far you can go. The words struck her like sunlight breaking through a storm. For the first time, she tasted freedom. Not just from the food, but from the way he made her see herself. Back at the Carter home, Evelyn's fury was boiling over. She came back with bags. Evelyn spat, pointing at the shopping bags Aaliyah had tucked discreetly in her room. Designer labels. Do you know what those cost? Vanessa's jealousy twisted into a bitter laugh. That man is spoiling her, and she's flaunting it, rubbing it in our faces. Evelyn slammed her hand on the table. No man gives without expecting something. She's walking into a trap, and when she falls, we'll be here to remind her she was nothing to begin with. But even as she said it, Evelyn's voice trembled. Deep down, she feared the truth. Aaliyah was slipping from their control. That night, Aaliyah sat by her window, holding one of Jehoon's unexpected gifts. A simple silver necklace. Not loud, not flashy, just elegant. She traced the charm with her finger, tears stinging her eyes. For so long, she had been told she was ordinary, unworthy, replaceable. But Jehoon looked at her like she was irreplaceable. And for the first time in her life, Aaliyah began to believe it. The Carter house was quiet, but the air was heavy with tension. Evelyn sat stiffly at the dining table, her wine glass untouched, her mind racing. She's getting bolder, Evelyn muttered, walking in with her head high, not even caring if she eats with us anymore. That necklace around her neck. She thinks she's royalty. Vanessa twirled her hair, bitterness dripping from her tone. It's that man. He's changing her, making her untouchable. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Men like him don't stay. He'll grow bored, and when he does, she'll come crawling back here. And when she does, Evelyn's eyes gleamed coldly. We'll be waiting to remind her she's nothing. Vanessa smirked. But what if he doesn't leave? What if she really becomes someone? The thought made Evelyn slam her glass down, the sharp crack echoing in the room. Over my dead body. That girl will never rise above us. We'll make sure of it. But upstairs, Aaliyah lay in her room with a quiet smile, replaying Jehoon's words in her head. You don't need permission to shine. She had no idea that while her heart was beginning to heal, Evelyn and Vanessa were sharpening their knives, waiting for the moment to strike. Evelyn and Vanessa sat close together in the living room, the glow of the TV flickering across their faces, though neither of them was watching. She came home late again. Vanessa hissed, arms crossed tightly. Did you see the car? Black, shiny, with a driver. Like she's somebody. Evelyn's lips curled into a thin, cruel smile. She's forgetting who she is. Forgetting where she came from. Vanessa leaned closer. So what do we do? Just sit here while she becomes untouchable? Evelyn's eyes hardened. No, we wait. Then we strike where it hurts. A silence stretched between them before Vanessa's lips curved wickedly. What if we plant doubts? Spread whispers? People love gossip. If the world sees her as nothing but a gold digger, even he will start to question her. Evelyn's smile widened, the kind of smile that promised trouble. Yes, we'll stain her name before she has a chance to rise. Let her choke on the very light she thinks she's found. Upstairs, Aaliyah brushed her hair in the mirror, humming softly, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath her own roof. And though Evelyn and Vanessa believed they were tightening the noose, what they didn't realize was simple. Jehoon had already decided. Aaliyah wasn't going anywhere. The next morning, Evelyn and Vanessa sat at the kitchen table, their voices hushed though their words were sharp. All it takes is one rumor, Vanessa said, tapping her manicured nails against her coffee cup. People will believe anything if it's juicy enough. Evelyn's eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction. Then let's give them something to believe. We'll say she's using him. That she's chasing his money. Vanessa smirked. And when he hears it from enough people, even he'll wonder if it's true. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, a dark smile curving her lips. Let Aaliyah have her little fairy tale for now. The higher she climbs, the harder she'll fall. Meanwhile, Aaliyah was stepping into a world she never imagined. Jihoon had invited her to a private art gallery that evening, the kind of event where only the elite were welcome. He stayed close at her side, his hand brushing against hers, his gaze soft whenever she looked uncertain. You don't have to be nervous, Jihoon whispered, leaning close. You belong here, with me. Her heart fluttered. For the first time, she felt seen not as Evelyn and Vanessa's shadow, but as someone worthy of standing in the light. But across the city, Evelyn and Vanessa's whispers had already begun to stir. Seeds of poison dropped into the wind, and soon they would find out just how dangerous it was to play against someone like Jihoon. The gallery had been dazzling. Glittering chandeliers, champagne glasses clinking, cameras flashing discreetly in the corners. For the first time, Aaliyah felt she was part of something extraordinary. But the glow dimmed quickly. As she moved from one painting to another, she overheard fragments of conversation. Isn't that the girl? Probably just after his money. A CEO like him would never marry someone like her. The words sliced through her confidence. Her hand trembled as she set her glass down, forcing a smile she didn't feel. Evelyn's voice echoed in her head. You'll never be enough. Her chest tightened. Was this what Jihoon's world thought of her? Was she just a scandal in their eyes? Jihoon noticed immediately. He stepped to her side, his arm brushing against hers. What's wrong? She shook her head quickly. Nothing. I'm fine. But her eyes betrayed her. Jihoon's jaw tightened. He looked around, catching the stares, the smirks, the whispers. His expression hardened, and with a quiet but commanding voice, he addressed the crowd nearest them. Since some of you seem curious, he said, his voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the noise. Let me be clear, Aaliyah is not just my guest. She is the woman I chose to be here with. Anyone who has a problem with that can keep their opinions to themselves. Silence fell. Whispers died. A few faces turned red. Aaliyah's heart pounded, her throat tight with emotion. Jihoon had said it publicly without hesitation. She turned to him, whispering, Why would you? Because you are not their gossip, he said firmly, eyes locked on hers. You're mine, and I won't let anyone make you feel small. In that moment, the poison Evelyn and Vanessa spread began to backfire. For Aaliyah, the whispers no longer felt like chains. They felt like sparks, fueling something stronger between her and Jihoon. But Evelyn and Vanessa, sipping wine at home and waiting for news, had no idea their scheme was already starting to crumble. Back at the mansion, Evelyn and Vanessa lounged in the living room, glasses of red wine in hand. The faint hum of the television played in the background, tuned to a society gossip channel. Vanessa flipped through her phone impatiently. Well, did anyone say anything yet? Aaliyah's probably hiding in a corner by now, embarrassed out of her mind. Evelyn smirked. Of course, Jihoon's world isn't made for girls like her. All it takes is one whisper in the right circle and she'll break. She'll come crawling back here, where she belongs. But the smugness on their faces froze when the broadcast cut to breaking news. A reporter's voice rang out. Tonight at the Chaiwa Gallery, billionaire CEO Kim Jihoon made a rare public statement. In front of Seoul's elite, he openly declared his support for Aaliyah Johnson, the mysterious woman by his side. Clips played across the screen. Jihoon standing tall, his hand near Aaliyah's, eyes fierce as he silenced the whispers. She is not their gossip. She is mine. Vanessa's wine glass nearly slipped from her fingers. What did he just say? Evelyn's face darkened, her jaw tight. He defended her, publicly, like she's someone important. No, Vanessa muttered, shaking her head. This wasn't supposed to happen. People were supposed to laugh at her, not respect her. Evelyn slammed her glass onto the table, wine splashing over the rim. Jihoon is blinded. That girl has bewitched him. But mark my words, Vanessa. Her eyes gleamed with cold fury. No matter how high she climbs, I will drag her back down. And when I do, she'll regret ever thinking she could stand above us. Vanessa leaned in, whispering, "So what do we do?" Evelyn's lips curved into a smile that was anything but kind. "We don't stop. If whispers don't break her, we'll give her something she can't escape from. A scandal. Something so strong. Even Jihoon won't be able to protect her." The firelight flickered in the room, casting their shadows long and sharp on the walls. For Evelyn and Vanessa, this wasn't jealousy anymore. It was war. The Johnson house was unusually quiet that night, but in the dining room, Evelyn and Vanessa sat close together, their whispers sharp as knives. Vanessa scrolled through her phone, eyes glinting. Everyone online is already obsessed with her. A little push and we can turn that obsession into hatred. Evelyn smirked. Exactly. We don't need whispers anymore, we need evidence. Or at least something that looks like evidence. Vanessa leaned forward eagerly. What kind? Evelyn tapped her fingers against the polished wood table, thinking. Photos. Aaliyah with another man. Text messages that suggest she's two-timing Jihoon. Or worse, using him for his money. Vanessa gasped, then laughed. Scandal. That would destroy her. Evelyn's smile was cold. I know people who can make it happen. The right pictures, the right rumors. Once the story spreads, no one will see her as a Cinderella anymore. She'll be nothing but a gold digger. Vanessa's excitement bubbled over. And Jihoon? He'll have no choice but to leave her. Evelyn's eyes hardened. Exactly. And when she falls, she won't just fall alone. She'll take her shame straight back to this house, where she belongs. On her knees, they clinked their wine glasses together, sealing the wicked pact. Meanwhile, across the city, Aaliyah lay in Jihoon's arms in the quiet safety of his penthouse. She had no idea that while she was finally tasting peace, shadows were moving against her, and the next storm would be the fiercest yet. The city glittered beneath the penthouse windows, lights sparkling like diamonds against the night sky. Aaliyah curled up on the couch, sketchbook balanced on her knees, while Jihoon stood by the window, tie loosened, phone set aside for once. For the first time in weeks, there were no whispers, no judgmental eyes, just them. You're staring? Aaliyah teased without looking up, her pencil moving softly across the page. Jihoon's lips curved into a rare, unguarded smile. I'm allowed to stare. You're mine. Her cheeks flushed, but she shook her head. Possessive much? He crossed the room, sitting beside her. With one gentle tug, he pulled the sketchbook from her lap, replacing it with his hand in hers. Not possessive. Certain. You're the one thing in my world I don't want to lose. Aaliyah's chest tightened. For years, Evelyn and Vanessa had made her feel small, insignificant. But here, with Jihoon, she felt seen, chosen. You know, she said softly, sometimes I wonder if this is all a dream, if I'll wake up and be back in that house. Listening to Evelyn remind me I'm nothing. Jihoon tilted her chin up, his gaze steady. Then I'll remind you every day that you're everything. The kiss that followed was slow, grounding, as if he wanted to anchor her heart to his. For that brief stretch of time, Aaliyah allowed herself to believe the fairy tale was real, that maybe she could finally live without fear. But in the shadows, Evelyn and Vanessa's plan was already in motion. The scandal was set to break at dawn, and the perfect world Aaliyah was building with Jihoon was about to be tested like never before. The morning sun had barely risen when Aaliyah's phone buzzed with a flood of notifications. At first, she ignored it, snuggling deeper under the warm blanket beside Jihoon. But the buzz grew louder, more insistent. Frowning, she reached for the phone, and froze. Her face was everywhere. Headlines screamed across gossip sites and social media feeds. Kim Jihoon's mystery woman caught cheating? Gold digger or girlfriend? The truth about Aaliyah Johnson. Her stomach dropped as she opened one article after another. Blurry photos showed her sitting in a cafe with a man she barely knew from university. cropped and angled to look intimate. Screenshots of fake text messages painted her as someone laughing about trapping a rich CEO. Her chest tightened, breath catching in her throat. No, this isn't real. This isn't real. Beside her, Jihoon stirred. Aaliyah. His voice was thick with sleep, but when he saw her pale face and trembling hands, he sat up instantly. What's wrong? Wordlessly, she shoved the phone at him. Jihoon's eyes narrowed as he scrolled through the lies. His jaw clenched, the warmth in his face replaced with cold fury. Who did this? Tears pricked her eyes. People will believe it, Jihoon. They'll think I'm using you. Enough. His tone was sharp but protective. He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his steady gaze. I don't care what they write. I know you, and I'm not letting this come between us. But Aaliyah's heart still ached. For years, Evelyn and Vanessa had made her doubt her worth, and now the whole city seemed ready to believe the worst about her. Across town, Evelyn and Vanessa sat side by side at the breakfast table, their smiles wicked as they scrolled through the chaos they'd unleashed. Vanessa laughed, her voice dripping with glee. Look at her, Evelyn. Everyone's turning on her. She won't survive this. Evelyn's eyes glittered with triumph. Good. Let her taste the humiliation she thought she'd escaped. Soon, Jihoon will see her for what she really is, nothing. But Evelyn didn't realize one thing. Jihoon wasn't a man who let others dictate his choices, and her victory might be shorter than she imagined. Aaliyah sat at the edge of the bed, her hands shaking as she scrolled through the comments. She's so desperate. Of course she's using him. Jihoon deserves better. Each word felt like a dagger, slicing away the fragile confidence she had only just begun to build. Her throat burned as she whispered, Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong in your world after all. Jihoon stood in front of her, his expression stormy, his voice firm. Don't you dare say that. Tears welled in her eyes. Jihoon, look at me. I'm just Aaliyah, a girl who grew up being told she was nothing. And now the whole city sees me that way too. How long before you start believing them? For a moment, the silence was thick, her words hanging between them like glass ready to shatter. Then Jihoon knelt in front of her, taking her trembling hands into his own. Listen to me. I've built an empire, faced enemies who wanted me destroyed, and I've never wavered. Do you think I'd let a handful of lies take you away from me? Her breath caught, her chest aching. You're mine, Aaliyah, Jihoon said, his voice low but unyielding. And tomorrow morning the whole world will know it. I'll face the press myself. They can throw their questions, their accusations, I don't care. I will burn down every lie they spread about you. Aaliyah's lips parted, her tears spilling silently. Why would you do that for me? He brushed a thumb over her cheek, tender but fierce. Because you're not just someone I love. You're the only one who ever made me feel alive. And I'll protect that. I'll protect you, no matter the cost. For the first time since the scandal broke, a flicker of strength returned to her chest. Meanwhile, across the city, Evelyn and Vanessa toasted their victory, completely unaware that Jihoon was preparing to make a public stand that would shatter their schemes. The flashing lights of cameras nearly blinded Aaliyah as she clutched Jihoon's arm. They stood before a sea of reporters outside the towering glass headquarters of Kim Enterprises. Microphones jutted toward them like weapons, voices clamoring with questions. Mr. Kim, is it true your girlfriend has been unfaithful? Did she target you for your wealth? Will this scandal affect your company's reputation? Aaliyah's heart pounded, her fingers trembling against his sleeve. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to disappear before the world ripped her apart. But Jihoon didn't flinch. His presence was steady, his voice commanding as he stepped forward. Enough! The crowd stilled. Even the clicking of cameras slowed. Jihoon's gaze swept over them, cold and sharp. The lies you've spread about Aaliyah Johnson end here. She is not a rumor. She is not a scandal. She is the woman I love, and the only person I will ever stand beside. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Reporters exchanged frantic glances, their pens flying across notepads. Aaliyah's breath caught, her chest tight with emotion. He had said it, out loud in front of everyone. Jihoon's voice deepened, laced with authority. If you want to question someone, question me. If you want a statement, here it is. Aaliyah is mine. And anyone who dares insult her insults me. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the chaotic snapping of cameras. Aaliyah's eyes blurred with tears. The weight of the world's judgment pressed down on her. But Jihoon's hand found hers, lifting her back up. Inside their mansion, Evelyn and Vanessa watched the live broadcast, their wine glasses forgotten. Vanessa's jaw dropped. He actually defended her? Evelyn's face twisted with fury, her nails digging into the armrest. No, this isn't how it's supposed to go. That girl should have been ruined by now. But as Jihoon led Aaliyah away from the flashing lights, it was clear. Their scheme hadn't broken her. It had only made her shine brighter at Jihoon's side. The elevator doors slid shut, muffling the chaos of reporters outside. For the first time that day, silence wrapped around them. Aaliyah leaned back against the cool metal wall, her chest rising and falling as though she'd been holding her breath for hours. Jihoon! Her voice was soft, trembling. You didn't have to do that. Jihoon turned to her, his gaze steady, unwavering. Yes, I did. He stepped closer, his hand gently brushing her damp cheek where tears had fallen. Do you know what I saw out there? She shook her head, her throat too tight to speak. I saw a woman who has survived more than most ever will. A woman who shines even when others try to bury her light. And I will never, never let anyone take that away from you. Her tears came again, hot and unstoppable. But this time they carried something different, relief. She buried her face against his chest, his arms closing around her like a fortress. Jihoon, she whispered, her voice breaking. What if it's too much? What if they never stop? What if I'm not strong enough? His hand smoothed over her back, his voice low, firm, and warm. Then I'll be strong for you. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. Aaliyah, you're mine, and I'll fight the world if I have to. Her heart thudded, the fear in her chest slowly giving way to something steadier, something stronger. Meanwhile, across town, Evelyn and Vanessa watched the replay of the press conference again and again, their anger simmering. He's protecting her like she's some kind of queen, Vanessa spat, tossing her phone onto the couch. Evelyn's lips curled into a cold, determined smile. Let him. The higher he lifts her, the harder she'll fall. And when she does, we'll be waiting. But in that moment, wrapped in Jihoon's embrace, Aaliyah finally believed one thing. No matter what storm came next, she wasn't facing it alone anymore. The following week, Seoul's tabloids were still buzzing, but the storm had shifted. Instead of tearing Aaliyah apart, Jihoon's public declaration had turned the spotlight into something different. Curiosity, fascination, even admiration. Who is the woman who captured the heart of Korea's most untouchable CEO? Kim Jihoon. From billionaire to protector, love changes everything. Aaliyah scrolled through the headlines with wide eyes. For the first time, the comments weren't all daggers. Some even praised her strength, her grace beside Jihoon. Still, doubt lingered in her chest until Jihoon placed his hand on hers during a business dinner, introducing her confidently to leaders and partners. This is Aaliyah Johnson, he said proudly. The woman who changed my world. The room had stilled. Some looked at her with surprise, others with skepticism. But Jihoon's unwavering presence gave her courage. She smiled, lifted her chin, and for the first time, stepped into his world without shrinking. But across town, jealousy burned hotter. In their lavish living room, Evelyn paced, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Vanessa sat curled on the couch, her phone clutched tight as she scrolled through social media posts filled with admiration for Aaliyah. It doesn't make sense, Vanessa hissed. She was supposed to be ruined, and now they're calling her some kind of fairy tale heroine. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, her voice low and venomous. That girl has always been trouble. No matter how we tried to dim her light, she found a way to shine. But this time we won't just whisper lies. We'll strike harder. Vanessa looked up, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. What do you mean? Evelyn leaned closer, her tone dripping with poison. If the world insists on seeing her as a star, then we'll drag her into the shadows where she belongs. I have a plan, and this time, Jihoon won't be able to save her. Vanessa shivered at the icy determination in her mother's voice. Back in Jihoon's penthouse, Aaliyah laughed softly for the first time in days, leaning into his side as they overlooked the glittering Seoul skyline. She didn't know the storm Evelyn was preparing, but Jihoon's arm around her shoulders gave her hope she could face anything. The glow of the city lights spilled through the penthouse windows as Aaliyah curled against Jihoon's side, laughter bubbling softly from her lips. For the first time, she felt safe, loved. She could almost believe the nightmare of the scandal was behind her. Jihoon brushed a strand of hair from her face, his eyes tender. Do you realize how strong you are? Most people would have crumbled under what they tried to do to you. But you're still here, still shining. Her cheeks warmed, and she shook her head shyly. No, Jihoon. I'm only standing because you held me up. No, he corrected firmly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. You're standing because you were meant to, and I'll make sure the whole world sees who you truly are. Aaliyah's heart swelled, a flicker of hope sparking where fear had once lived. But across town, Evelyn was fanning the flames of her next move. She sat at her desk, papers and photographs scattered before her. Vanessa leaned over her shoulder, her brow furrowed. What are you doing with all this? Evelyn smirked, her manicured nails tapping a file. Inside were old records, whispers of Aaliyah's past life, her struggles, her financial hardships, even rumors Evelyn had twisted into cruel tales. You see, Evelyn purred. The media painted her as a poor girl who found a rich man, cute, inspirational. But if they knew just how desperate she used to be, if they believed she was scheming for survival all along, that fairy tale would rot into scandal. Vanessa's eyes widened, half in awe and half in fear. So you're going to leak this? Not leak, Evelyn corrected, her voice smooth and venomous. We'll plant it, carefully, just enough to make people question her. Jihoon can shout his love all he wants, but doubt, once planted, grows on its own. Vanessa hesitated, but the cruel satisfaction in Evelyn's smile was contagious. Together, they drafted the first seeds of destruction. Back at the penthouse, Aaliyah leaned on the balcony rail, the night breeze brushing her face. She had no idea that while her heart soared higher with Jihoon's love, Evelyn was already setting the trap that could drag her back into the shadows. The trap Evelyn set was supposed to destroy Aaliyah. She had paid shady reporters, spread twisted half-truths about Aaliyah's past, and even fabricated evidence of desperation and schemes. But Evelyn underestimated one thing: Jihoon's reach. When the new scandal hit the headlines, Jihoon's team moved swiftly. Every rumor was debunked with receipts, every lie traced back to its source, and the source led straight to Evelyn and Vanessa. Within hours, the story flipped. Stepfamily jealousy behind fake scandal. Aaliyah Johnson targeted by her own stepmother and sister. The public outrage was swift and merciless. The same voices that once mocked Aaliyah now turned their scorn on Evelyn and Vanessa. They tried to ruin her because they were jealous. Shameful. A mother and sister doing this to their own family. Now we see who the real snakes are. At home, Evelyn's phone wouldn't stop ringing, reporters hounding her for comments. Vanessa hid in her room, crying as social media roasted her name. Their proud faces were gone, replaced by panic and fear. When Jihoon made a final statement, "Anyone who harms Aaliyah, harms me," Evelyn and Vanessa's world collapsed completely. Days later, they appeared at Jihoon's grand estate, dressed in plain clothes, their pride stripped away. They fell to their knees before Aaliyah, tears streaming down their faces. "Aaliyah, please," Evelyn sobbed, her voice broken. "We were blinded by jealousy. We didn't mean." "Forgive us, sister," Vanessa begged, clutching at Aaliyah's dress. "We were wrong. Please, don't let the world mock us anymore." Aaliyah stood tall, Jihoon's arm protective around her waist. She looked down at them, the same women who once tried to bury her light. Her voice was calm, steady, radiant with dignity. I don't hate you. I don't even need revenge. But understand this, you will never dim my light again. I found my place, my strength, and my love. And nothing you do can take that away. The crowd of reporters outside captured the moment, and the world saw it too. The once silent, timid girl had become a woman untouchable by jealousy. Months later, Aaliyah stood at Jehoon's side as his wife, dazzling in her elegance. Together, they became the most powerful couple in the city, her grace balancing his authority, their love unshaken by storms. Her artwork, once hidden in sketchbooks, now hung in galleries across Seoul. Her name was celebrated not just as Jehoon's wife, but as a woman who had carved her own place in the world. As they walked hand in hand through a gala, the whispers had changed completely. She's incredible, the perfect partner for him. They're unstoppable together. And far behind them, Evelyn and Vanessa lived quietly, mocked by society, remembered only for their jealousy and downfall. Aaliyah never looked back, because she didn't need to. Her light had finally broken free, and beside Jehoon, it burned brighter than ever. The end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share to others. Also leave a comment to share your thoughts about the story.